Welcome to Proline TV. Sorry for the late start. Just getting a message that we have an error on our X account, but that's okay. That is not our main platform anyway. We are here live on our Proline TV channel. We are also broadcasting over on, obviously not X right now, but over where else are we broadcasting? It's on X and also over on Facebook. But yes, we're going to be broadcasting on more than X and Facebook real soon. Matter of fact, we're working on broadcasting over on Jim Feist's Instagram, TikTok. So give us another few weeks and then we'll be broadcasting live on a multitude of social channels. So we'll update you on that accordingly. All right. So anyway, rough start, but here we are. It's Mexico this week, CJ, and we have never seen the NASCAR boys in Mexico before. So we're going to be getting into that. Awful logo, by the way. I have no idea what the hell that's about. Maybe they should have asked me. I could have developed something a little bit better than that. But whatever. Maybe the people in Mexico like it, and that's all that really matters. And they are better than anything F1 usually does, which is nothing. Speaking of F1, we are going to be doing an F1 report at the end of this show where we preview the NASCAR race in Mexico. So we're going to have about a 3-minute update on what's going on in F1, including take a look at the race this week in the Canadian Grand Prix. So NASCAR, fresh off their race just a few days ago in Michigan. What'd you think about it, CJ?
It was typical Michigan. I mean, the wide track, the high speeds, it produces good racing. It allows cars to spread out through the turns, and you get some comers and goers, which is always good. And as usual, with the longer track, specifically at Michigan, it all came down to a fuel mileage race at the end. So strategy was important and left it kind of in the driver's hands, which I thought was a good thing. So I do like Michigan. I think they should be going back there multiple times each year. Unfortunately, we just get the one every year now.
Yeah, and what's the big differences between Michigan and Pocono?
Probably the banking. So Pocono is a 2.5 mile track, so it's a half mile longer. It also has 3 uniquely different turns. So each turn in Pocono is modeled after a famous turn of another racetrack elsewhere in the country. So it's a big track. So therefore it has long straightaways, which therefore makes it sometimes a fuel mileage race as well. But I would say the biggest difference between that and Michigan is simply the banking. Michigan just has steeper banking, wider turns, wider groove, ability for cars to kind of fan out through the turns and actually race each other, unlike Michigan, where certain of the turns really are only single file.
I mean, Hamlin, he had one of the top 5 cars. Do you think, again, based on fuel mileage and everybody has a different strategy, do you believe that he had a deserving car? Was he the best car? Or is it one of those deals where this is Michigan and there's going to be about 5 or 6 cars that are probably deserving, all depending on what happens and how lucky they get with their strategy?
I think it was deserving. I think he's been, just if you look at the past couple of weeks, he's been running inside the top 5, getting out front and leading laps, and it was no different at Michigan either. So Byron was the one to beat, clearly. He was my pick. Unfortunately,
me and you, we went head to head.
Unfortunately, the fuel mileage just didn't play with us. But that happens. And, Hamlin was in the top 5. It's not like Hamlin from outside the top 15 and the top 10 all ran out of fuel on the last lap, and he was the one that coasted in. I think he did a good job managing his fuel. He ran Byron hard enough to actually force him to pit, and that's all part of the game. So I do think it was a deserving win.
Okay, so that's it for Michigan this year. And Pocono is what? That's next month, July?
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, I think it's July.
Just one race now, right?
Yeah, just one, backed off the 2.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so road course coming up this week, and a new one, and in a new country. So I'm sure this is going to be quite interesting. What should we expect for this specific road course? Is there, as far as the other road courses in the series, can you say that it is similar to any of them?
Real quick, Pocono is at the end of June, so right on the
Oh,
July. So we'll have it in another couple of weeks. But in terms of road courses and comparable tracks, Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, Brothers Rodriguez, um, very high up in altitude. So I think the big talking point this weekend is going to be about the thin air. A lot of cooling is going to be necessary in order to keep engines cool. Water at that elevation boils at a lower temperature than it does closer to sea level. So we might see some overheating. I think teams are going to be very conscious about that. In terms of the track itself, though, the layout of the track, really tough to compare it with anything because, probably from a NASCAR perspective, the best thing to compare it to might be Circuit of the Americas because of the long straights and the kind of technical nature of the turns. But Circuit of the Americas has a lot of elevation changes. This track in Mexico City basically has no elevation changes.
okay.
Very long front straightaway into turn one. And I think there are a couple of other long straightaways and areas where some passing could occur. So I do think that track position is going to be very important. It's going to be very important how the teams set up their cars so that the engines don't overheat. They're getting enough air into the brakes. Brakes may end up being a problem because breaking down very hard at that higher altitude with thinner air into those tight turns may put extra pressure on the brakes as well. But I do think we're going to see some passing, and I think we'll see some good racing. I'm looking forward to it. I think this might be a good track for NASCAR to go because it does offer some passing opportunities, unlike some of the other more natural terrain courses with the hills and so on and so forth. But from a comparison standpoint, even though it's not really a close comparison, probably the best one to look at would be COTA.
What do you think about the strategy situation? Because at COTA, Christopher Bell wins the race basically because his car waited the longest to pit. So he had the fresher tires, green flag pit stop, and he overtakes Kyle Busch at the end, who had the best car by far in the race. And really, if you looked at Bell, his qualifying wasn't there, his practice wasn't there, but we've seen that happen a lot this year. You have the right strategy, and it worked out for Christopher Bell. Do you see that being a similar situation here, or is that just one of those things where, well, that could have happened in any race, or what kind of whoever wins this race, are you going to look at it and say, well, they probably won because of what?
Strategy. Without a doubt. I think that's the name of the game when you come to road courses. It's all about when you pit and when you're able to get out onto fresh tires and being able to run your fastest laps when you're not in traffic. That said, like COTA, with the kind of chopping off that longer straightaway and having that shorter turn there, that opened another opportunity for dive bombs and potential to pass as well. So that's not saying that you can't come from behind and win. You can definitely knock people out of your way if you're on track. But I think the real winner this weekend on Sunday is going to come down to pit strategy and when the last stop actually happens.
Will it be one of those situations where we could see some teams deciding to, could you possibly, and again, I have no idea how many laps you have to make. I haven't gotten into that, but is it, well, hey, I'm going to try to win this race on 2 stops instead of 3. Is there anything like that could possibly happen here?
Yeah, depending upon where the stages fall, it's all going to come down to where the yellows are, because you've got the 2 yellows automatically built in from a stage perspective. So if you just back up from the end of the race on that last stage, you kind of get a window as to where or what lap range your last stop needs to be in order to make it on fuel. I don't think tires are going to be a huge issue. I think it's more going to come down to your ability, number 1, to manage fuel, but number 2, get that clean track position so that you're able to turn your fastest laps when you're not in traffic. If you're stuck in a line of cars trying to force your way by, and they're slower than you, I think that's going to be a problem. I think the person that, gets out into clean air and is able to make the fastest laps at the end there is probably going to be the one that has the advantage.
Okay, as far as starting position and practice speeds, like I said, practice speeds and starting position did not matter to Christopher Bell. Therefore, when I come on Saturday and talk about, I'm assuming they're going to have a regular practice and qualifying run. Do you think that's going to matter a lot? Obviously, it's a road course, so you want to get position, no doubt about that. But do you believe that you can see there's no reason to believe that you can't have the same type of winner here, just like we saw at COTA with Christopher Bell?
Yeah, I would say you can definitely have the same type of winner. Practice speeds are probably going to be most important. I don't think there's anybody that's going to be sandbagging. I think the difference with what you saw with Christopher Bell at Circuit of the Americas versus what you're going to see this weekend is the teams know Circuit of the Americas. And yeah, there was a change to the course for this year's race, but in actuality, they know the whole thing. They know everything except that one turn that NASCAR changed. They knew the rest of the track. This week, they don't know the track so much. There are only a couple of guys that have raced there in the Xfinity series, and that was a long time ago. So I think I think practice speeds will be very indicative of the potential, regardless of where they end up qualifying on Saturday. Clearly, track position is very important to have, though. It makes your day so much easier, but it's not anything that you can't overcome at this track.
Okay, so you would say that as long as you're somewhere in the top 15-ish,
yeah,
that's going to be good. And you would rather be 15th and practice in the top 5 than be 5 and practice in 15.
Oh, for sure. Without question.
Okay.
The only thing that would worry me about starting deeper, I definitely want a faster car because that means I can pass anybody, through the entire afternoon. So give me that, hand over fist all day, every day. The only thing that concerns me about starting that deep, though, is just getting caught up in somebody else's accident. So if you can tiptoe your way through the traffic, if you can avoid getting caught up in somebody else's accident, getting hit from behind, etc., I think starting inside the top 15 is good enough to be able to give yourself a shot at the win.
And would you say that, because I know I don't usually ask these questions because obviously I've got data with all the other road course races, but just thinking, and again, I could have done the research before and just thrown stats at you, but I'll just ask you there plain, does that mean that that's pretty much the case on every road course?
Sonoma is a little bit different. It's Sonoma,
you would take speed on Sonoma.
I would take starting position in Sonoma. And the reason I say that is because there's really only one passing spot at Sonoma. The rest of the track, there's really no other place, only going into that hairpin before you come back onto the start finish straight. That's really the only passing opportunity. So give me track position and I'll defend all day. Whereas here, I think there are probably a good 3 spots on this track where you can outbrake somebody. And if you've got a faster car, especially with the long front straight, I mean, just being able to get a great run off of that last carousel turn onto the main front straightaway here in Mexico City, I think that gives you an advantage all the way down the very long front straight into turn 1 where you can outbrake and make passes. That's not necessarily true at some place like Sonoma.
Okay. All right. So let's get to it. And since we do not have any data for the track, we do have odds and we do have history on road courses. So that's what we're going to do here. So let's go ahead and pop up the odds. Normally, in a normal race situation, we would be going, well, we all know who's going to be favorite. But since it's a road course, well, we're going to do the same thing, except a different driver.
Yep.
All know who's going to be favorite. The question is by how much? So what do you think the odds are on Mr. SVG?
I was thinking about that today because I knew he was going to be the favorite. I hope that he's like 5. I'm going to say he's probably 3.5, 350.
Yeah, that's what he is. And I was checking, my sports book has it at 250.
that's, that's no good.
Okay, so who's next?
Kyle Larson. Why not? Christopher Bell. He would have been my guess too. 7? You got to be kidding me. Wow. Okay.
Can you believe this?
No. No.
How
right.
ridiculous is this?
That is not right.
Wow. I mean, look, let's just go. We knew we were going to go through this. We say it all the time. We talked about it at Coda. And we're just going to keep doing it until he wins a road course race. Okay. Not a street race, a road course race. And even the street race stuff we'll get into, but this is road course. Okay. He has raced 4 times. He has 1 top 5. And he was actually, get this, he was 5-1 at Coda. He finishes 6th. He's never a factor. And now he's 3-1, basically. It's like he impressed them so much that they dropped the odds even further down to 3-1. So, yeah, we all know he is one of the best based on the competition with NASCAR drivers, et cetera, et cetera. I still don't know. I honestly can't say whether or not I believe he is the best, because why should I say that? He hasn't won races yet. And we've been in this situation before with other really good road drivers, and not just the hired hands, but just, we're talking 15, 20 years ago when it just began, whenever this road course deal began, whenever that was, it would be like Jeff Gordon and, Tony Stewart. And that was about it. Who else was there? Tony Stewart, Jeff Gordon, and I don't know. Was there anyone else? Wasn't it always those two pretty much?
It was those two, yeah. But then you fast forward to the days of Chase Elliott, Martin Truex Jr.
Yes.
time as well, and they would be in this range for sure.
Yes. So, but the key is that, again, they proved it. They won races. So it's just, look, we all know he's going to win one of these, and he's going to win multiple road course races. He's just too good of a driver in this type of racing. But as we say every single week on the show, it's all about value. That's what it's about. And you are getting absolutely no value with Shane Van Gisbergen. So, yes, S. Cole, we could not agree with you anymore. So, yeah.
So I completely agree with you. The odds need to be 5, 6, especially 6. If you're going to give Christopher Bell 7, it should at least be 6. Come on. What SVG does have going in his favor is, number one, this is a new track. Like I said, there aren't many guys that have raced on this before, so the playing field is a little bit more leveled at this time. And I will say that given the flatness of this track, some of the slow turns, especially through the baseball stadium complex before you get to that last turn to come out onto the main straightaway, I would say that resembles more a street course than a typical road course. So the flatness, this type of track, I think this is a place that SVG probably has the best shot at winning since Chicago. So for that reason, he's got some things definitely going for him this week. 3 is tough to swallow, especially on Tuesday before any kind of practice and qualifying happens. You can wait. I don't think it's going to drop the 1.
Yeah, but there is absolutely no reason to believe that he's not going to go really fast on Saturday.
Fair point.
How can he not go fast on Saturday?
That is a fair point as well. Absolutely correct. Yep.
So, yeah, and we've seen this before. Even whenever Vegas puts lines together and they feel pretty strongly about who's the favorite, they don't usually move those guys, no matter how slow they are in practice and qualifying. They could have a disappointing qualifying and practice run, and they're still going to be where they were before. So that's the same thing. I mean, he can go out there and go 12th and 14th, and maybe it'll bump up to 4-1, maybe. So
it would change, to be honest with you.
It's yeah, again, he's going to win, but just it's sort of like the Kyle Larson deal we talk about over and over again. There's just no value there, even though we do have a race where there's some value on Kyle Larson now. And we'll get to that in just a little bit. As far as Christopher Bell, I'll say this, because we really have some good competition now in road courses. And we're going to have, let's see, all told, not counting SVG, but his competitors. He is, in my mind, going to have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think a good 8 or 9 drivers that are all capable of being anywhere from 8 to 15 to 1 that can clearly win this race, and nobody would be surprised. And they're good drivers on road courses. So why on earth would we go with someone like 3 to 1? Or even when you take a look at Christopher Bell, one of the things I noticed with Bell is that now he was 11 to 1 at COTA. So they've dropped him down now to the second choice after winning the first road course race, after we just told you how he won it. He was not impressive winning that race. They got fairly lucky, or they were very smart strategy-wise based, but nobody picks drivers a lot of times on, well, I'm gonna go with that driver because I like their strategy more. I believe in their pre-race strategy more than the other guy. I mean, that doesn't happen very often. I mean, sure, you do see a history where some crew chiefs know what they're doing. You know, they know the fuel mileage gain better than the other guy. I get all that. But for the most part, it just is not, it doesn't happen very often when that's the reason you're betting. It's a reason. It's not the main reason. But anyway, look at Christopher Bell. He led 8 laps in the race. He stole the race. And even though he's got good stats and he's a good road course driver, nobody's saying he's not. He has 12 top 10s out of 21, 6 top 5s, and he's got runner-ups and wins in both COTA and Roval. But keep that in mind. That's it. Roval and COTA, 2 runner-ups, 2 wins. So he doesn't have anything like that at Watkins Glen. He didn't have anything like that at Indianapolis or Sonoma. And he's only led 64 laps in 21 career road course races. As you can see when we start going through the rest of this field in that group I was talking about, there's a lot of other drivers who are just about to hit that have a lot more laps led than Christopher Bell in their history, percentage-wise. So I still think that I think this is still an overplay. Now, I understand he should be somewhere in that next wave, but I wouldn't touch Christopher Bell to win a second straight road course race, especially with the way he's going right now. He's had 1 top 5 in the last 7 races.
Yeah, and I'm looking at stats just from the 2022 season onward, and he's got 2 wins, 6 top 10s. He's ranked 5th overall in terms of average finish on road courses. This doesn't include Chicago. So again, I can think of it without even looking at my screen. I can think of at least 5 other drivers I would probably put in the same basket, if not slightly ahead for this weekend. So can Bell go out and win it? Yes, he can, just like Shane Van Gisbergen. But is he the next best choice or the best choice that is out there? Arguably not.
Okay. Now we're going to get to
Byron and Reddick are the right ones here.
Okay. So now you've got these 3, and these are 3 of the drivers I've just talked about. All of these drivers, good odds. It's going to be tough to pick one or the other. But, I would probably, out of this group here, I would probably go with Larson and Byron. And the main thing with Reddick is that, once again, I know we're changing to a road course. Maybe this will get his mojo going again. But the fact is, he's not in a nice groove. He still is in that rut where he hasn't had a top 5 in his last 7 races. So I don't like that. He's clearly deserving at 8 to 1. He's one of the best out there. He's led almost 200 laps. By the way, he's had the same amount of races as Christopher Bell on road courses, 21. Yet he's led 188 laps over his career compared to Christopher Bell's 64. and Reddick has 2 wins, just like Bell, at Coda and Indy. And he has 7 top 5s out of 21 races. So, yeah, there's a lot to like about Reddick, but, we got to nitpick here, and we got to try to, these are hard guesses, but I'm going with Byron over Reddick because of the fact that he's a lot hotter right now. I mean, come on, what does this guy have to do? And, I also think that William Byron has slowly become a very underrated, really good road course driver, and all of a sudden he's second at Coda earlier this year. He's got 6 career top 5s, 2 runner-ups. He won Coda. He won Watkins Glen. He's led over 240 laps in 27 races. So I like Byron. He would be my first choice, and Larson would be one of my top 2 choices as well. Did not have a good race at Coda, though, even though the results coming in here are better the last couple of races than what happened after Indy and so forth. The fact is that, he did not have a good showing in the first road course race, but we are getting 8-1 with Larson. And anytime you're getting 8-1 with Larson on a road course, you have to pay attention to that, especially when you're not used to taking Larson like us on a weekly basis. I think this is one of those weeks that maybe it's worth going with him. He has 6 career wins. He's led over 300 laps. And do I like the way he started the year in road courses? No. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just a fluke. But the thing is, Shane didn't do anything either. And yet he's 3-1. Larson's 8-1. There is no way Shane Van Gisbergen should be 5 points better than Kyle Larson on a road course. It's just nuts. So I would go with Byron and Larson as my top 2 in this first 5.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think Reddick will probably be quick and he'll qualify toward the front. But the thing that kind of turns me off from Reddick is that usually, and recently, he's been starting at the front, but he's been finishing further back on the road courses. So he started Coda on pole, finished 3rd. The Charlotte Roval, he started on the front row, finished 11th. You go back to Sonoma, he started on the front row, finished 8th. He started 3rd at Coda last year and finished 5th. He started on the pole at the Charlotte Roval in 2023 and ended up finishing 6th. So he has a tendency to, qualify really well, but then slip backward as the race goes on. Whereas you look at some of these other guys, like especially William Byron, his 3rd place finish on the Charlotte Roval last year, started 10th. His 2nd place finish at Coda, he started 15th. He won from the pole at Coda as well. So he's somebody that is coming forward and is able to move forward as the race goes on, which is exactly what we talked about at the beginning of how you end up winning these road course races now, especially through strategy and being able to push your way forward. Then if you look at Kyle Larson, it kind of does look like Coda was a fluke because he had some issues there, wound up 32nd. He started inside the top 10. But again, like if he qualifies at the front, generally speaking, that's where he's finishing. He started 6th when he won at the Charlotte Roval in 24. He started 5th when he won at Sonoma in 24 as well. So I agree, just based on momentum as well as how they're finishing versus where they're starting in the last several road course races, I think the signs all point toward Byron and Larson in this group.
Okay. Oh, by the way, there's no way to tell whether a specific manufacturer is going to be any better, right?
Not right now. No.
No, I wouldn't think so. Okay. Let's see. Now we're going to get actually, I don't think we're going to get too much of a bump, but Chase Elliott's 10. And let's see, how many more do we have after that? I think we can move some more here. We've got AJ at 12, Suarez and Kyle at 14. Chase was my top pick at Coda, and we all know what happened to him there. Chastain decided to dive bomb on the first turn of the race, and Elliott wound up coming out of that first turn in last place to start the race. And it took him the entire race to get back to 4th. And that's how he ended. But if anything, that shows you that he would have had a good car and might have been able to win that race. And we are not talking about Chase Elliott like the old days when he was 5-1, 4-1 to win these races. And I get it. He had a little bit of a blip moment, but I think that moment's gone in my mind. I think we saw that last go around at Coda. And I love the fact I'm getting 10-1 with Chase, and I'm going right back to him. I have no problem doing that. He was, again, fourth at COTA. He's got the 5 wins in his career, and he has 16 top 5s in 31 races. That is that close to 50% of the time he's in the top 5 on a road course, and you're getting 10-1 with Chase Elliott. AJ is always going to be strong. Didn't have it at COTA, though. He has almost 50%, actually over 50%, as far as top 10s on road courses. 20 top 10s out of 39. He's got 3 wins. Suarez, to me, it's interesting. He was 25-1 at COTA. The only reason he's 14th, there's no other reason other than nationality. That is it.
Hometown advantage. Yeah.
Yes. So if you want to go that route, you can, but you've now lost your value because he'd be 14-1. But somebody that I think is great value now, and we talked about it last week, is Kyle Busch, because Kyle, we talked about how he started to have a nice little bit of a run, a positive run. It was nice, but he had to keep it going, and he did. So he has continued that positive momentum over his last 4 races. He's gotten better all 4. He gets the top 10 last week. He was the best car at COTA by far. He was the best. He's got 4 career wins, 19 top 5s, almost 30 top 10s in 53 road course races, nearly 500 laps led in his career. And I love the fact I'm getting 14-1 with Kyle.
Yeah, Chase Elliott and AJ Allmendinger stand out for me. The interesting thing I mentioned before, I was only looking back to 2022. If you look at the average finish ranking on road courses since 2022, and keep in mind, Chase Elliott has not won a road course race since prior to 2022. Chase Elliott's ranked number 3. So he has been fighting his way back on road courses, and 3 out of his last 4 road course races have resulted in top 5 finishes. So he is there, and he is ready to be there to win again and reassert his dominance on road courses. I think it's coming. AJ Allmendinger, the reason I like him, number one, you have to consider AJ Allmendinger whenever you go to a road course, but in particular, he's won at 2 places that I think compare relatively favorable, one more so than the other. He won on the Indy road course, which I think is probably more similar to this track than maybe even COTA. I forgot we raced on the Indy road course, but we don't race on it anymore. AJ Allmendinger won there in 2021. He also won on the Charlotte Roval as well. So I think AJ Allmendinger, especially at 12-1, when you're talking about an SVG at 3, I think it makes a whole heck of a lot of sense to be able to go with AJ Allmendinger here at 12-1.
Okay. So there you go. So, and I believe that we're going to have another little bit of not too much of a bump, but we're going to start to go up a little bit here. We've got Buescher, Chastain, McDowell, and Bowman. I don't know. I mean, in this group, I'm not getting any value here with Buescher. He was 25-1 at COTA. I know he did have a top 10 and was second last week. Yeah, but I don't know why the drop down from 25 to 16. I don't know if it's second last week, and he's got a win last year at Watkins Glen. Maybe there's some of that. I just don't see it. I think he should be a little bit further back. Chastain, we know he's good. I do wonder whether or not Chase Elliott gets a little revenge in this race or not. Keep an eye on that. But he's got 1 win, the COTA win. And he's been okay, solid. You're getting good odds. McDowell, I don't understand this at all. He was 35-1 at COTA. I don't know what he's doing now at 18-1. I don't know why he's being dropped down this much. The only thing I could think of is that maybe it does have something to do with Indianapolis because of the fact that he won his only road course race at Indianapolis, the Grand Prix. So he's a fine road course driver, 3 top 5s, runner-up, 8 top 10s, led 100 laps, but no way at 18-1 when you were getting 35-1 at COTA. And we've talked before about Bowman being a nice little sleeper road course driver, 13 top 10s out of 30, but he's only led 11 laps, and he was ninth at Coda, but nobody is struggling right now, probably more than Alex Bowman when it comes to some of the top drivers, playoff drivers. So, yeah, I just don't think this is a good time to take him.
I would not choose Bowman, not to say that he can't steal another one, because he always does, it seems. But for me, honestly, I think out of this group, probably Chris Buescher. Odds, yeah, I'd like him to be a little bit better, but he's got some really great road course statistics, a lot of top 10s, just one finish outside of the top 10 going all the way back to 2023, actually. And you got to go all the way back to 2022 for the first time he finished outside of or I guess worse than, well, I guess 17th at the Charlotte Roval would have been last year, but outside of the top 20, you got to go all the way back to 2022. The rest of them were all pretty much top 10 finishes for Chris Buescher. So without a doubt, Chris Buescher is somebody you got to put in your fantasy lineup. He should be guaranteed a top 10 finish on a road course, because that's just happens to be like where he's finishing all the time. From a betting standpoint, yeah, I'd like a little bit better odds there, especially considering he's only got the one win that came at Watkins Glen last year.
Okay, let's go some more. And this group is interesting. Hocevar. See, the problem I'm going to have with Hocevar this week is what you were saying about the course before. Once you started talking about, well, the drivers are going to have to worry about this and the car is going to have to do this, it's like these guys, and I know that there are some people, look, the whole idea with what's going on with Hocevar, I guess this would be a nice long discussion as far as what is happening. Why has he been so much faster lately, and yet the car has been breaking down? Is that because they're really getting, they're trying to manipulate the tires and some other parts of the car, but they're doing it to the point where they have to do it where they're crossing lines? I'm not talking about fairness. I'm just talking crossing lines where maybe it makes the car faster, but now you're messing with danger because this is what's going to happen to your car. It's going to break down. Or is it Carson Hocevar that is driving the hell out of these cars, and by the time you get to the end of these races, these cars are falling apart? They're not good enough. I don't know what the answer is, but something's wrong. And now you throw that in there as far as what you expect that could happen at this track. And as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, that's probably not a good thing for Carson Hocevar this week, because those cars haven't been handling down for an entire race, and now he's got to do it in road course conditions and this type of track. But you are getting 28-1, which is better than the 20-1, which I did not like last week. And he's actually done pretty well as far as a road course driver. He's got the third place finish at Watkins Glen last year, and he has 2 top 15s out of it. He's got actually 3 career top 15s in 5 road course races. That's not bad for Hocevar. He was 80-1 at Coda, so now he's 28-1, but we kind of get that. I'd still like a little bit better odds, but I'm willing to deal with that. And as far as the rest of this group, I think both Cindric and Gibbs are nice long shots. Gibbs, even though he had nothing at Coda, he's coming off his best result last week, which is a positive sign. He was 18-1 at Coda. I have no idea why he's 30-1 now. Again, the flips. I don't know what these changes are so dramatic, and I don't understand half of them. So I'm happy about that. He has so far in his career had 3 top 5s out of 13, so that's okay. And keep in mind, he is a good. It's important with these younger drivers is to know what kind of experience they had in the Xfinity Series. Did they show anything there? And he did. He had 5 top 5s out of 14, a runner-up, 2 wins. He did win Indy. He won Watkins Glen, led over 200 laps, also had a couple of poles. Cindric, similar, did not do well at Coda, but he has 7 career top 10s in the Cup Series, 3 top 5s and a runner-up out of 17. And the Xfinity Series, out of 10 races, he's been in the top 5 8 times with a runner-up and 2 wins, just like Gibbs, Indy and Watkins Glen, leading over 118 laps and 2 poles. So yeah, I think Gibbs. I'd probably go with Gibbs over Cindric, and I think Hocevar is a live wager too. Briscoe, I don't like what's going on with Briscoe right now. He's I don't know what he's doing out there with winning 3 straight poles, and then he's that's not translating at all into these races. So I'd probably go Gibbs 1, Cindric 2, Hocevar 3.
I would just flip Gibbs and Cindric. And the only reason why I think is Cindric is starting to show what he, or come back to, I should say, what he displayed on road courses in the Xfinity Series. And I expected him, and I think many expected him to come out of the gate and really challenge on road course races, which he did early in his career. And in fact, he ended up finishing second on the Indy road course back in 2022, and that was his best finish in the Cup Series on a road course race so far. At the end of last year, he started picking it back up, 10th and 4th at Watkins Glen and Roval. He had a couple of or a streak of races where he was outside of the top 15, but I think he's getting it back there. So I think Cindric, for me, I would put ahead of Gibbs just because of the consistency and his ability to continually deliver regardless of series. Gibbs seems to be going the opposite direction. Yeah, Gibbs is fast on road courses in the Xfinity Series, and he also has had his due and the Cup Series as well, with the best finish of 3rd at COTA in 24 last year, but it's been 4 races on road courses since he's even finished inside the top 20. So I feel like on road courses in particular, Gibbs might be going the wrong direction, whereas Cindric is going the opposite direction, the right direction, which is why I would flip those two. Carson Hocevar, if he were to win on Sunday, that would be super impressive for me. I think he's a very good road course racer. Obviously, you said the 3rd place finish at Watkins Glen, but I think him, for all the reasons you mentioned, coming out on top this week would just be a terribly impressive performance from him.
What do you think? If you had to pick the biggest reason why we're seeing what's going on with him, where they're there at the end, but then something happens with the car, what do you think is happening?
I think it's probably him, to be honest with you. I don't, that's not to say that he's too harsh on his equipment. I think he's probably just maybe a little bit harsh on his equipment because we're not seeing it from the other Spire cars. I think he was the only one on the Spire camp that had a flat tire last week. So I don't necessarily think that the team is obviously trying to push the limits, but I don't know that they're necessarily going over it. I think there's something in Hocevar's style that's probably pushing it just that slight little bit too far. Part of the reason why he has the speed, but he's also got to get the experience of how to manage it. These are much longer races than he's experienced in the truck series. So being able to make your equipment last through the whole distance is something he's just got to come up to speed, which again is why I keep saying, you know, all this great performance in the first half of the season is gravy for me. I'm really looking forward to him in the second half of the season.
So he's sort of driving the way Cole Trickle did early in his career.
Exactly.
Yeah. Before he figured out what he was doing wrong, being too hard on the car, too hard on the tires, really was what he was guilty of.
You can't pit. We're eating ice cream now. Exactly right.
No, that wouldn't work. By the way, Briscoe just 5 top 10s in 20 races. Yeah. How surprised are you that he's got 3 straight poles and nothing is translated into the race?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we talk a lot about that with certain drivers. Like for a while there, this season, Hocevar was doing a lot of it and no results until recently. McDowell does that almost every week, and we don't see the results. So it happens. There are some drivers who just are really good at turning a fast lap, and even sometimes practice is nice, but it's a long race and it doesn't translate. So I guess it's a good starting. I guess that's the way I would look at it. You have to look at it a positive that you have 3 poles. So there's something there. Mm-hmm. It's just they're a new team and they got to figure it out. So, okay. Now, wow, look at that big gap there.
Wow.
So look at these drivers here, all 3 of them who have all won road course races, 40, 40, and 55-1. Interesting. Hamlin and Blaney with 30-1. Now they're 40-1. I'm mentioning that's what they were at COTA. Logano was 35 to 1 at Coda. He's 55 to 1 here. Has anybody forgot about how Joey Logano likes to race at new racetracks? Even though, of course, it is a road course, it's not his specialty. But Joey Logano has 21 top 10s in 45 road course races. 11 of those are top fives, just one win. He's led over 136 laps, so he can do it. So can Hamlin. Hamlin has 17 top 10s, 11 top 5s in 51 races, led over 200 laps. And Blaney is 15 top 10s, 5 top 5s in a win. Hasn't led as many laps as the other two drivers. But these are some big numbers. I would, especially because it's a new track, I would definitely take Logano here over the three. But look, I don't expect any of these three to win. But since, anything is possible with strategy, and these are three drivers from the top group, and why can't one of them pull it off? So I think they're live long shots, that's for sure.
Completely agree that they're live long shots. I'm surprised Hamlin's not better just because of his recent run of form. I think that should be enough to get him into the top 15, perhaps the top 10, just the way that he's running. His most recent top finish at a road course was back in 2023 when he finished second at Watkins Glen. He does have a win from, I think it's just one all the way back. Yeah, Watkins Glen 2016. So a long time ago, but certainly capable of top 10, certainly capable of winning, especially just the way that he's running right now. So I think he might be, or would be, a worthy long shot, and Logano as well. I mean, similar to Hamlin, except Logano's even got an 8th place finish on the Charlotte Roval last year. So Logano can definitely race with the best of them here. He's got back-to-back finishes at Charlotte Roval and Daytona Roval back in 2020, 2021. Didn't do so good on the Indy road course, but he does have that win all the way back at Watkins Glen in 2015. So yeah, these are some numbers I'm not used to seeing for these three guys for sure.
And none of the rest of these guys are really, look, I will say that there's a couple of them of note when we're talking about these drivers here. You look at these big numbers, really big. One will be Noah Gragson. I think Gragson, I think he's worth a buck. I mean, he's 8th at Coda. He was 11th at Watkins Glen last year. So that's a good start so far in the Cup, a couple of good finishes. And just take a look at his Xfinity record. He has 11 top 10s in 12 road course races in that series. And he has 1 top 5 in 2 Coda, a 4.0 average finish in 4 Roval, a 6.0 finish in 3 Indy, and a 6.7 finish in 3 Watkins Glen. That is, that shows you he can road course race. So you're getting 200 to 1, and he just finished 8th at Coda. So he is definitely one of these guys that I would like to throw a buck on. The other guy that sticks out, look, Zane Smith, we just passed him. I don't think that we should probably zoom past him too much because he came through at 7th last week. Like, we thought he could be a nice little long shot. He finished in the top 10. And I don't know, again, another situation. He was 100 to 1 at Coda. Why is he 250 to 1 in this race? After finishing a bad Coda, so I don't mind, but after finishing 7th last week, he's starting to show people sort of, he's behind Hocevar, but he's showing people he's better than people think. And he was 5th at Watkins Glen last year. So I don't understand why the number would go from 100 to 250 to 1. Eric Jones is the only other one that would stick out to me, because Eric Jones, who never raced a lot in the Xfinity Series, still had, because over his career, I noticed, I think there were a couple of places he never even raced, but he did have a good amount of races to back up as far as some data. 9 top 10s, 3 top 5s, and 29 races. He did not finish well at Coda, but we know that he's been a little bit better lately, and he's 300 to 1. So again, I don't think any of these drivers are going to win. Out of these three, I think Gragson is the top choice out of all of these long shots. And maybe if you're just looking for one of these drivers to hit a top 10, maybe you can get some good value there. Because even Gregson is what is his top three? What is he, 50-1 in top three? So I don't know. Maybe you're still getting 10-1 or something like that. Or in 10 to a top 10, or I don't know what you think, but out of all these long shots, those are the only ones that stood out for me.
There are a couple things that we didn't hit on that I will point out before we wrap it up. Riley Herbst, he's only had one road course race in the Cup Series, but that was Coda of this year. He started the race 31st and he finished 17th. So he's somebody that worked his way really forward. Again, only one race, so take it with a grain of salt. It is what it is. But then we also didn't mention that Xfinity has raced here at Mexico 4 times. And there are 2 drivers that are Cup drivers that are racing in this race on Sunday that have won there. Most recent was Kyle Busch. The other one was Denny Hamlin. So those 2 have experience at this track, especially with the Denny Hamlin odds we were just talking about. He's somebody that could make his way forward, especially the way that he's racing right now. Having a former winner in the Xfinity Series on this track is definitely going to give, or being a former winner on this track is definitely going to give him some confidence going forward too.
Okay, so there you go. Those are the odds for the race. That's what we have as far as data. Now we're going to give our picks. So I've got the first pick, right?
Yep, you do.
This week. So look, I'm going to go ahead and stick with what I said. I'm going to go ahead and take Elliott. I just think he's great value. And, but I'd probably go with Larson as my second choice if I was going to do that. Who do you like? Who's your top pick?
I'm actually going to go William Byron. I think he's well overdue for a win at this point, and he's been muscle on road courses recently, so he'll be my top choice.
Okay, so yeah, I think the 2 of us have like taken him like what, almost like 3 straight weeks.
Probably every week for the past 3.
Yeah, and deservedly so because he keeps getting close. So, all right. Next up, I am going to go with. I'm going to go ahead and take Kyle.
I will go with Chris Buescher.
Okay. And then the big long shot here. Let's see. It's going to be between Gibbs, Cindric, Hocevar, and Logano. So I am going to go ahead and take Gibbs.
I think you know who I'm taking. It's going to be Austin Cindric.
Okay. There you go. So that's Mexico. And it's only the second road course race of the year. We have 3 more to go, correct?
4 if you count Chicago.
Yeah, I guess so. You have to count Chicago. Well, in a way, but yeah. Yep. So Chicago is coming to. And what do we have as far as the schedule? So there's 1 in the playoffs. The Roval.
Yeah, Charlotte Road Course, the Roval, October 5th.
Nobody likes the Roval, right?
I'm not a huge fan.
I don't remember the Roval being anything.
Aside from the first year when Blaney snuck through to win on the last corner, I've not been. Yeah, it's just not been the greatest for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was like the only. Was that the first year too when we had that crazy finish?
Yeah.
Was it Jimmy Johnson?
Yeah, and Martin Truex Jr., wasn't it?
I don't know. I think it was okay, and it was basically whoever. What was it? That was to move on into the playoffs.
I can't remember
or
if
get in.
Move on or get in. For some reason I say it was get in. I could be wrong, but yeah, it was a playoff cut thing, and it
was crazy.
Wasn't Johnson in?
Yeah, something like that. And he decided to push it.
Yeah. And then,
all he had to do is just, chill out. Just, he could have been Flintstoned it into the finish line, but he decided, I'm going to try to,
Exactly right. And then Blaney snuck through and win. Yeah. So we've got So Mexico City, Chicago, Sonoma, Watkins Glen, and then the Roval will be our last road course races.
Okay, so there you go. As we said in the beginning of the video, we are going to be talking some F1, and I'm sure how many F1 fans we have here. It's just going to be a short report, though. Make this into a short. So pun definitely intended. Let me go ahead and switch this out here. Before I do that, again, you're going to have the fantasy report. You can switch the hat to. Actually, don't switch it yet. Not yet. So you're going to have the DFS. You're going to have your DFS report from rotowire.com Friday.
That is correct. And rotowire.com will have best bets and fantasy preview. That'll be out on Friday, rotowire.com, but we'll also give you the link in the description of this video as well.
And then I will do the starting lineup report on Saturday. I haven't checked yet when the time was. It was refreshing that we had an early start at Michigan last week. I love the fact that I was able to put that together like around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's usually, sometimes it's been like 7 o'clock at night the 2 previous weeks. So I have no idea what time it'll be this week. So it's usually a half hour after qualifying ends. I'll record it and then it'll be posted usually a half hour after that. So we'll let you know what to look forward to as far as qualifying and practice on that video. So now you can switch the hat, my boy. Oh, next week. What's next week?
Pocono.
Oh, it's already Pocono. Okay. I thought it was in 2 weeks or something like that, but
yeah.
And then what?
Atlanta. Night race at Atlanta.
Night race.
Okay.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
We get a Saturday night race. We don't have to worry about competing with college football yet. So that's nice. There's nothing else happening. So that'll be cool. And it's Atlanta. So that should be fun.
Should be good.
So yeah. All right. So that's coming up. Pocono followed by Atlanta. And now we're going to switch the hat. We're going to switch the backdrop. Let's go ahead and do that. There it is, Canadian Grand Prix. And as we get started here, let's first of all, let's set the table here for what's coming up, because we have the Canadian Grand Prix. So what we're going to do here on this video is talk about not only the race, we're going to give best bets, key stats to look for, and all that kind of stuff. So you can look forward to wagering on the race if you are one of those that likes to wager on F1 racing. Very difficult sport to earn revenue, but hey, it's out there. So before we do that, though, CJ, talk about the key storylines from the Spanish Grand Prix, which was a couple of weeks ago. You know, Ferrari was stronger. That was refreshing to see. Of course, the big story, though, was the hot-headedness of Max Verstappen, who I think maybe we're hearing all these whispers about drivers who might want to give NASCAR a try. Max would fit really well in NASCAR. I mean, I think that's what he wants to do. I think that's how he wants to drive. And they would allow him to drive like that in NASCAR. You can't do that in F1, though.
Yeah, and there was a clip at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. Connor Zilic was driving a Red Bull NASCAR up the hill, and Max Verstappen was there with his Red Bull Formula One car. And there was a quick clip of Verstappen walking by saying hi to Connor Zilic, and Zilic said, "You want to get in and drive?" And Max like, "Yeah, I would actually." So who knows? Maybe someday we'll actually see Max Verstappen give up on Formula One. They don't appreciate his style of driving, and come over to NASCAR where he can actually drive the way he wants, as you said.
That'd be awesome.
It would be awesome. So yeah, his hot-headedness definitely was a storyline in Spain, probably the biggest storyline. We talked a little bit about it last week, but I think Max's frustration with Red Bull, the fact that Red Bull is not able to catch McLaren at this time. And then, oh, by the way, Ferrari and Mercedes did well at Spain, which Red Bull and Max Verstappen did have the upper hand on. I think he's starting to see that advantage slip away, and his frustration boiling over ended up with some contact and ultimately a 10-second penalty, which pushed him pretty far back down the order, ended up finishing 10th in that race, unfortunately. But as you said, Oscar Piastri, McLaren continue to dominate. It's Piastri's 5th win of the season. He's back on top. His last win was in Miami. His teammate Lando Norris and the other McLaren won at Monaco, the race before Spain. But Oscar Piastri actually came forward in Spain as predicted and just had the upper hand from pole. He ended up leading 60 of 66 laps. It just continues to be the McLaren show in 2025. In Spain, you had Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris finish 1-2. And like you said, Ferrari also climbing up the order. So Charles Leclerc, really good at Monaco, his hometown. Spain arguably could have been very different because it's a very different racetrack, a lot different in terms of the quickness of the turns, much faster turns, medium to high speed, whereas Monaco is extremely slow speed. Charles Leclerc and the Ferrari actually looking pretty good, ended up with a podium finish, finishing in third place. And then George Russell just continuing to execute in the Mercedes, came home in fourth. It's what we've come to expect from them this season. So again, when you look at the table, McLaren teammates Piastri and Norris running ahead. Max Verstappen might be losing a little bit of his edge, and the real fight really to look at is going to be between George Russell, Charles Leclerc, and Lewis Hamilton there as they start catching up to Max over the next couple of weeks.
Okay, let's take a look at the odds now for the race. Let's move on over to F1. Let's see, where do we have? There we go. All right. And we've got pretty much the same storyline regarding the odds. They seem to be pretty much like we've seen them over the last few weeks, coming down just a little tiny bit. But the good thing is you're still getting plus on Piastri and Norris because it's the two of them. And at this point, I mean, it sure is looking like Piastri is a pretty nice bet. And you've taken him quite a bit this season. And for the most part, every time you've taken him, it's like he's winning races. And again, you're getting a little bit better than even odds. Obviously, they'll change in qualifying, which is huge. And I got to tell you, we talked about this before. Even sometimes if you want to wait for qualifying, I think Piastri was like minus 150 or minus 170 going into a race. I don't know if it was the one 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. But that's not even a bad number in the grand scheme of things when you're talking F1. So you might want to wait, but I mean, is this one of those situations where you just keep riding Piastri, or you think Norris might have something and it's maybe time for him to get in the winner's circle again?
So I think both of these odds for either driver are probably worth taking. I would give Piastri the edge, and as you can see, you're getting fractions of a point, giving him the edge there. Would not take Verstappen this week. I don't think this is the one to do it. Too many places to pass on this track with 3 DRS zones and some heavy braking, but the McLaren just continues to be top of the heap. So Piastri has been getting the most out of it. Yeah, Lando Norris started third and finished second at Canada last year, but Piastri finished fourth, and Piastri is a much better driver, different driver this year than we saw last year. So I think Piastri is going to end up having the edge here. What I would compare this with is McLaren to win as manufacturer. That way, the odds are probably going to be negative at this point, but if they're like -2-ish, you might want to go with McLaren. That way you pick up both drivers, and -3. So it's a little bit out of the market. Then I would say actually -4 there. Must have been looking at something else. So yeah, -4 might be a little bit much. What a
big difference. I mean,
yeah, I prefer
we understand how tough it is to decide between one or the other driver, but you're getting even. And it's just a much better way to go. So in that case, which would be your top pick between the two?
Piastri, for sure. I'll take the positive 130 on Piastri just because I think he's got the edge. I think it's more likely than Norris. Yeah, Norris can come out and win. It would not be a surprise. It's going to be one of the McLarens most likely. Piastri, with his 5 wins already this season, back on top again at Spain, he's going to be the one that I'll go give the edge to.
And I know in some circumstances, and the race now I'm thinking about was Monaco. But again, the reason I thought that was a really good number on Piastri at -170, whatever it was, is because there's no passing there.
Zero.
So whoever's first, you're probably going to win. How different is that at this track? Is it better to just go now and get the plus? Because if Norris is second and Piastri is first, anything can happen.
Yeah. Quite honestly, McLaren holds the precedent that they let their drivers race. So regardless, I would think both of them are likely to start on the front row. And if whoever starts second still has a chance to win, it really depends on how those first couple of laps, maybe that first fuel stint plays out. So even if Piastri qualified second, I wouldn't necessarily hand the trophy at that point to Lando Norris. As I said, this track compared to Monaco, they're both very tight in terms of the walls being very close. They both are predominantly very slow corners, but there are 3 DRS zones and there are long straights at Canada. There are at least 2 or 3 spots where you can make passes at this track. So it's not over with qualifying in this one. So I'm still going to go with Piastri as my top pick here.
And first or second place starting positions have been, I think we've seen now 8 straight winners out of either one of the front row there, starting positions. So dating back to 2015, Max has won the last 3 of these races, but I don't think that's going to matter. By the way, with the penalty, does that come into play in this race?
It will not come into play in this race. He did get penalty points on his license. So if he continues to accumulate penalty points on his license, he may end up facing a 1-race suspension at some point in the year.
That's it.
So it could grow depending upon how many points he ends up getting. But hopefully he just calms down and just goes on with the race. And just to your point in terms of starting position winning at this track, aside from Daniel Ricciardo winning in 2014, you actually have to go back to 2011 to find the first time, or the next time, I should say, somebody won not starting on the front row at Canada.
Okay, what's next for F1 after Canada?
We have a week off, and then we'll go to Austria, and we'll be back in the European schedule, and then we'll go to the British Grand Prix on July 4th weekend.
So another week off.
Another week off before we head back to Austria, back to Europe for Austria.
Yep. Okay, so there you have it. And that is going to wrap it up for our F1 coverage. And also, don't forget, that's going to wrap it up for our NASCAR coverage. So we'll be back again next week to talk more NASCAR, not F1 since we got the week off, but we've got Pocono coming up next week. Don't forget, you can check out the starting lineup show for NASCAR on Saturday. And Kevin Rogers also, you can check out his report. Comes out usually on Fridays or early on Saturdays. Kevin hit 2 weeks ago with Chris Buescher at Ross Chastain at, what was it, 22-1, something like that? It was. And then last week, his top pick was Chris Buescher, and he finished second. So Kevin's a little hot right now, and anybody that's hot in the handicapping business, that's definitely who you want to touch, even though they tell you not to touch anything that's hot, but different as far as handicapping is concerned. So CJ, looking forward also to your F1 report, which will be posted on this, posted on one of the videos, one of the F1 videos. So you can check that out. And usually that's available starting on Thursday or Friday.
Thursday or Friday. We'll have it up this week for you. Yep.
Sounds good. All right. So for CJ Radoon, rotowire.com, Greg DePalma, don't forget to subscribe here on the channel. That's the best way, the free and easiest way to give back to the channel. Subscribing, liking, and sharing and all that stuff. If you have any comments, throw that in there. We appreciate those as well. And we'll see everybody next week when we talk Pocono. We're looking forward to that. See you next week.